Hey guys, subscribe for daily content. And if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got another interesting knife review / knife overview to share with you guys. This is the Kizer Nice Guy, and it is a very straightforward, very simple knife. Basically the same design that we've been seeing forever, right? But it's a good example of how just a couple of elements can take something that's seemingly so overused. Well, it's definitely like, look at the handle profile and the blade profile. It's like knife in the dictionary, right? But a couple of different elements, little teeny tiny things make this actually a super excellent product. And then also the price tag. This is a very inexpensive knife and it comes in a few different configurations. I will link this down in the description. It does help my channel when you use those links, but that's entirely up to you. Thanks to Kizer for sending it in. Thanks to my patrons for supporting me. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex and on TikTok at the_metal_complex. Let's go ahead and get some size comparisons done here. Actually, before we do that, we should measure it. The overall length of the Nice Guy, not a big knife, not at all actually. About 6.65 inches overall. Blade length is coming in at about 2.85. Cutting edge is coming in about 2.5 on the dot. Let's go ahead and do some size comparisons up against the 8010 and the 80-20.5. Any custom scales you find in this section can be found down in the description under Original Goat and Others. So you can see here, this is definitely on the smaller side. But bear with me. I'm not somebody who normally likes smaller knives, but I like this one, and I'll explain why. PM2 and Para 3, definitely closer to the size of the Para 3, but Para 3 still dwarfing it. And then finally, up against the Benchmade Griptilian, or in this case, the Ritter Hogue and the Hogue Deca. How's the action on this knife? There's only one way to deploy this knife, and that's with the flipper tab, and they have essentially perfected the detent. It's a really nice detent on a little knife. I just normally don't like little knives for a number of different reasons. I find them awkward to deploy. I find that, a lot of times the weight and mass of the blade isn't enough, even when they've got a decent detent, to get it to feel snappy. This actually feels really snappy. I think the combination of the detent being a little heavier than you might have expected, or that I expected, and the flipper tab being one where you can both push button and light switch it, just makes this really nice, honestly. Access to the lock bar is really good. There's no double clutch or anything. It is close, but there's no, the detent ball right there, and then right here, we're down to the fingernail, and then you just turn it and give it a little bit of encouragement. It'll go down into the closed position. So really very good. No issues there. It does run on bearings, but you probably could have guessed that. Carry profile, thickness up against the Spyderco Para 3. It's actually pretty thin, which is great. Length and height up against the PM2 and Para 3. This guy is not a problem in the pocket. The one that I carried was the aluminum one. I'm just showing the G10 one because that's the one I had here on the table. But I had no trouble carrying this guy. And this guy's right here, this G10 one is slightly lighter. It's very, very compact. Small enough that you might actually forget that it's there. Let's move on to weight. Speaking of that, materials. We have, in this case, G10 and Nitro V. Nitro V is an awesome steel to see at this price point. Very well-rounded, excellent for general EDC, very easy to touch up. Decent edge retention, compared with the other steels that you would find under 75 bucks. There's going to be aluminum, and I think they do carbon fiber as well. This one side is all the same piece of material, all G10. This side has a steel nested liner lock in there. So weight's going to vary just a little bit, but this guy is under that line of 3 ounces. In my book, anything that's 3 ounces or less, I consider it ultra lightweight. Whether it's 1.8 ounces or 2.8 ounces, it doesn't matter to me, because if it's under 3 ounces, there's a chance I'm going to accidentally wash it. My brain just sort of shuts off to the idea that it's even in my pocket. So if you're like me, be aware of that. This is super duper lightweight. Not everybody has that same issue though. So 2.5 ounces for, I can't remember what we said for blade length. It was 2.65 or something like that. Maybe, or was it, let's measure again, because I want to do the ratios here. Probably would help if you guys can actually see it. So yeah, actually 2.75, maybe 2.8 inches of blade. I may have actually measured that incorrectly when we started. Can't remember what I said. But anyways, 2.8 or so inches of blade for 2.5 ounces of weight, 2.6 ounces of weight. Very good ratios, and the balance is going to be right behind the pivot. So it feels like a super duper compact item. Let's go ahead and do a hardware check. I'm going to get out my tools as per usual. My tools are very inexpensive and very recommendable. You can find them right down in the section of my description that talks about the tools I use on this channel. My guess is everything is T8. Yep. T8, and those are huge. Maybe... I think that's that weird in-between size. But anyways, what do they call that? Like T8 plus? People always remind me of that. Something like that. A T8 will fit in there. In any case, more importantly, we have fasteners that are larger than T6 and T7, which is fantastic. And it won't take much to take this apart. A couple of T6 screws for the pocket clip, T8 for the body, T8 for the pivot, and you're in. Very, very simple from that point forward. As long as you have the right tools for the job, you should be good to go. Let's measure the blade stock thickness here real quick. Blade stock thickness on this guy coming in at 93 thousandths. Definitely on the thinner side. Okay, meat and potatoes. This is going to be short and sweet, guys. This is a super simple pocket knife. It has a super simple pocket clip. Very simple ergonomics. What they've done here, right? We have, you know, like a tall, like for this size of knife, like a tall, nearly fully flat crown drop point blade with a little swedge, right? We got jimping, 2 jimping zones right here. Nice thin blade, very thin behind the edge. What's the coating? Probably similar to paint. I've never actually got Kizer to tell me exactly what the coating is. At best, it might be similar to PVD or Cerakote. Unlikely. It's also definitely not DLC. This is probably similar to paint, which is whatever, right? It's not really that big of a deal because this is a super duper inexpensive knife. It's going to do exactly what you expect it to do. It's going to cut, right? The blade geometry is good. Kizer knows how to do good blade geometry. They know how to do a proper edge, all of that. What makes this design great, and this is an Azo design, by the way, is the fact that we got a proper forward choil on such a little knife. And a lot of people are going to say they sacrifice so much meaningful cutting edge. I mean, for the vast majority of people, did they? And I'm going to go ahead and answer you. People who didn't actually ask that, but you might have somewhere in your subconscious. They did not. The vast majority of people don't need this much cutting edge day to day, right? We like to carry larger knives, and some of us, you know, require larger folding knives or fixed blades day to day. But the vast majority, I used to say it was like 80, 20, and like 0.0001, being 80% of the knife community is like me, regular Joes, carrying their knives, doing regular Joe stuff. We probably don't need more than a utility knife day to day. A little utility razor blade would be fine, but we carry some fancy stuff here and there just because we like to. Most of us can get away with that. Then I used to say 20% of us actually take their knives out and beat them down. Maybe they need more blade. They need something more rugged, a locking system that's more this or that. And then 0.00001% of people are taking things out and doing absolutely extreme, like outside of the natural parameters of what a knife should be used for kind of stuff. I think it's more like 90-10. And then again, that same microscopic, like that group of people, like, don't pride yourself on that. Like, I'm making fun of you. And if you're in the 0.0001, you know, my grandpappy, he built a whole railroad with the Buck 110. Well, he's an idiot. That would have taken a really long time, and it's the wrong tool, right? So yeah, I think it's more like 90%. Like, I still full-heartedly believe that there are legitimately people who need more than an inch or two of blade day to day, right? And they take their knives out and they use them all day. Maybe they're sharpening them every night, you know, but they need like a long blade, right? Not just a little tiny utility blade. They need like a long, you know, a large or XL blade. Fine. For the vast majority of people, though, this is still plenty of blade, right? So to come back to what I was saying, this choke up position is absolutely beautiful, right? For little tiny things, being able to choke up here sometimes, even just breaking down, like this is fine for breaking down cardboard boxes, but what's crazy is it's such a little knife, but you can get such an unbelievably comfortable grip on this. Like the 2 different zones where the jimping the jimping is really great, but it also complements the index finger position perfectly. That is a big, roomy choil. Yeah, there's not a lot stopping you from riding up on that cutting edge, which, by the way, the transition there from choil to cutting edge is like perfect. It's so perfect, you really have to pay attention to it. But this area is so roomy. Normally, when we get a little knife with a flipper tab, they try to throw a forward choil in there. They do kind of a halvesy thing, and it's like, why? Now nobody can get their finger in there, and you really did just waste the whole area. At least now the area is utilized, and there's still plenty of cutting edge, right? For most people, right? If you're not most people, or you like to pretend, right? You got one of those wolf shirts, howling at the moon, like I'm a lone wolf. I walk by the beat of my own drum. I take apart my lawnmower with my knives, like if you, okay, whatever. Then sure, carry whatever you want. I'm not saying that you have to, like if you don't have any use for whatever blade that you're carrying, right? If you're not really pushing it to the limit, then you can't carry it. Now you can carry whatever you want, man. Carry a sword, carry a battle axe, who cares, right? If you like it, carry it. I mean, make sure it's legal. But the argument of like this wasting some meaningful cutting edge for the target audience, I think would be silly. I like this choke up position. I don't think super often you're going to find yourself in a situation where you're using a knife like this, but every now and then, and it's really nice to have that option. For me, it's nice to be able to get a full grip on such a small blade, because back here, this is a 3-finger position. Some of you guys are okay with this. I really hate it. I don't like where my pinky's like, well, I guess I showed up to the party and I have no use, so I'll just hang out over here. Ooh, this is weird. I'm not really sure where to go. Like, I hate that feeling. I'm very aware of it. So yeah, I really appreciate that we've got a meaningful choke up position on this knife. The ergonomics are really great. Like, this is super comfortable. The pocket clip is maybe right there at 50%, and it's okay. It's got a little bit of a flat part of the bill here, but doesn't stick up too far. It's fine. I'm not going to complain too much. Really, it's just a straightforward, super convenient EDC knife that's lightweight and compact. You also have ambidextrous pocket clip mounting positions. You have a nice large lanyard hole if you're a big lanyard person. Deep carry clip with recessed screws. The clip itself is not nested, but that's fine. In and out of the pocket was also fine. A little bit of peel ply texturing here on the G10, the aluminum. If my memory serves me correctly, it is not textured, but that's fine. Pick your poison there. You have a little bit of shouldering. No, there's no shouldering. You know why? Because the stop pin is actually attached to the blade. I thought that there was, I was looking at this little divot right there, but the stop pin is actually attached to the blade. I don't know if you can see it as we come around. And yeah, so that's interesting. I'm just now realizing that if that's the case, it rides on a channel carved out in the G10. Weird. Okay. So yeah, one of the stop pins is actually stopping itself on pure G10, which is dumb. But the other side is stopping out on steel, which means the effect, like how much it's relying on the G10 side for a solid lockout, is pretty minimal, because it's not really going to get much of a chance to wear that area away with the other side of the stop pin contacting the steel. Odd though, I think the answer would be to have a steel liner on either side. This is already so lightweight that I don't think it matters. It might throw the balance off a little bit, but realistically, the number of times that you would have to flip this for one side of the stop pin to affect the G10 scale so much that it starts to have issues with lockup, I would guess literally decades. I don't think that that's really going to be a problem, right? So, okay, odd choice. That, or maybe just like a regular stop pin, but okay, whatever. That's odd. I never actually noticed that. The centering is absolutely perfect. Let me look on camera here. Yeah, no detent lash, no blade play up, down, left, or right, no lock stick. Yeah, pivot lash, nothing in there. Very smooth and consistent. This knife starts off at $50 for the version that you're seeing here. $59 for aluminum or carbon fiber, which I believe is actually a laminate. So you have a carbon fiber top with a G10 body, I think. Either way, though, $50 to $60 for this knife profile, Kizer build quality and Nitro V, which usually is a steel that costs a lot more. In fact, there are definitely companies out there charging over $100, closer to $200 for Nitro V. Nitro V is one of those weird steels where it's great on a budget knife, but it is not a cheap steel. It's not like D2 or 440C. It's definitely a much more expensive steel. Not quite as expensive as some of the premium stuff from Crucible, But yeah, so it's very welcome at $50. Honestly, this is a recommendable knife for the general audience, the general community, and it's also a cheap knife that I like. So it's going to go on both playlists. This is very, very good. That's really all I have to say about it, guys. I'll link this down in the description. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.